Members of Congress and distinguished guests, my fellow Americans, we gather here today to right a grave wrong. More than 40 years ago, shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, 120,000 persons of Japanese ancestry living in the United States were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in makeshift internment camps. This action was taken without trial, without jury. It was based solely on race. For throughout the war, Japanese Americans in the tens of thousands remained utterly loyal to the United States.
August 10th, 1988, 46 years after being imprisoned in concentration camps, Americans of Japanese ancestry finally received an official apology from the United States government.
Sure, it's long overdue. It should have happened much sooner, yet I think it's a victory.
This is what we fought for 46 years.
The ceremonies today made me feel that for the first time in the past 46 years that I was an American like the rest of the people.
With the apology, Congress also awarded surviving internees redress, symbolic restitution to individuals and the community for the injustices suffered. The effort to convince Congress of the importance of this monetary compensation faced formidable obstacles. It severely tested both the Japanese American community's resolve and resources for more than 2 decades. This is the story of the unprecedented grassroots campaign for redress and the major role played by the Japanese American Citizens League. At the end of World War II, the ban on Japanese Americans living on the West Coast was lifted. Many returned to face the challenges of restoring their lives and their communities. The JACL worked to change the citizenship laws which had discriminated against the Issei, and it sought compensation from the government for property losses suffered as a result of the evacuation. However, under the Evacuation Claims Act of 1948, the first attempt at redress, the strict requirements for documentation excluded many claims. Other internees were forced to accept settlements far below the value of their losses, and there was no compensation for income lost or for physical and emotional suffering. Many Japanese Americans were embittered by the inadequate settlement terms.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
In the 1960s, with attention focused on civil rights and America's racial injustices, Japanese Americans began to discuss more openly their own painful experiences during World War II. JACL members sought to repeal the laws which still permitted the internment of civilians without due process. Their successes encouraged them to explore further political action. At the 1970 National JACL Convention, Edison Uno, a San Francisco community activist, first proposed seeking monetary restitution for Japanese Americans interned during World War II.
He was the one who not only conceptualized and intellectualized the redress effort, but he went out and he demanded that the Japanese American community recognize what had been done to us.
He wanted to deal with this thing on a very different level than anyone else was, I think at that time, ready to deal with it. And in order to deal with it as a political issue, you had to have a political organization. The JACL, as a civil rights organization in the past, had that kind of a network that could be activated.
The UNO resolution proposed that $400 million in reparation funds be used to revitalize